What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Darian Jones of Honor Kings and Sons TV. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to my podcast. If you are looking to find me on social media, all you have to do is type in Honor Kings and Sons. You can find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. I actually have two YouTube channels, so be sure to subscribe to both of them. One is my funny channel. I like to put stuff on there to make people laugh throughout the day. It's like a little entertainment YouTube page. If you type at DJonesHKS, you can definitely subscribe to that and catch you a funny video throughout your day. And then if you type in at Honor Kings and Sons TV, that is where you will see my podcast clips, my audio clips. I'm working on getting in-person clips for you guys. All right, and be sure to join my Discord. The link is in the description. I want to be able to expound on topics that I bring up. I want to be able to build a community of people from all around the world and hear what you guys have to say. Maybe you have a rally going on in your city, a panel, a conference, a parade, any little, charity event that you're doing, and you want me to be able to come out and support, talk with your leaders, your coordinators about different subject matter and how we can, best serve your community. I am all for it. All right. So please make sure that you guys reach out to me and join my Discord. Today, we are going to be talking about how much is $1,000,000 worth. For those of you who are new, thank you so much for tuning in. Honor Kings and Sons TV podcast is a faith-based platform where I help people find their kingdoms. I help people find their purpose in life. I believe that everybody is a king and a queen. And regardless of the cards you were dealt in life, everybody's looking for what it is they're supposed to do and what it is they're supposed to dominate. Where is their domain? So I help people from a biblical worldview and faith-based perspective on how to achieve that. And so all my topics that I bring up, they all filter into that concept. So today we're talking about what is $1,000,000 worth today. So if you look at what is going on in the world economically, many different nations are shifting. They're shifting their economic interests. They're shifting their currency. And they're looking to find a way to stay afloat financially for, the people of the country, the day in and day out people, blue collar, white collar jobs. They're trying to find a way to make sure that their economy can stay afloat. For those of you who don't know about things like BRICS Nation, where there are a list of nations that are not going to be, or their plan is to operate independent of the US dollar, right? And there's different countries. You have African countries, South American countries, countries in the Middle East that have come together to, find a way to continue to fund themselves apart from the US dollar. And a lot of them have made, decisions that starting 2025, some of them, as of this year, do not rely on the US dollar to, operate the trade, the goods and services, the economy of their country. So what that has done, along with inflation that has happened in the United States, through the presidency of Joe Biden, a lot of people argue that, inflation, was something that was being dealt with under the presidency of Donald Trump. So a lot of people are arguing, how much is $1,000,000 worth? A lot of people who are trying to be entrepreneurs, who are entrepreneurs and successful, who have put their time in, who have put their work in, built their empires, built a better situation for themselves and their family, and are, living financially free. You hear them a lot on social media, and a lot of them have been saying for a long time $1,000,000 has never been much as far back as the 80s. But as a person who's a new entrepreneur and looking from the other side of the coin and now, starting to, grow and build, I beg to differ because it always does boil down to your lifestyle choice, right? What you choose to do. If you're a person that you're a big player in the game, you're working with venture capitalists, you're working with millionaire billionaires, your industry, the deals are not small deals. then obviously, the level of coin, is significant and plays a part. And you're right, $1 million based on what you're doing wouldn't, push the needle, if you will. It wouldn't push the needle in your day to day operations and dealings. But for somebody as myself, $1 million can do a lot. Um, uh, and this is where people are starting to really analyze it. They're saying, well, today, what's the buying power of $1 million? Some people say when you look at inflation and its percentage, I believe it's between 2 to 3% or more. You have the PCE. You have all these different indexes, and you have to look at people's consumption and things like that. When you look at the daily expenses, you look at the housing market, because the number one thing, especially in America, is always housing. People are very big on making sure they have a place to stay and that they can function financially without having to deal with finding a roof over their head. So, if you look at $1 million now, I'm in the state of Florida. So, if you look at $1 million where I currently live, most of the homes on the market are selling between as cheap as low. The lowest I would go is 350, and we're talking like a 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 2 story, or if it's 1 story, you're looking at the lowest 350,000, and in some cases, based on the area, almost up to $899,000, right? So if you look at a person who has $1 million or was to receive $1 million, depending on what lifestyle they want to live, the buying power of that $1 million is not as strong today as it was maybe as far back as the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Some sources say that $1 million as far back as the 1940s had the buying power of up to $8 to $9 million of today's currency. So we are now having to ask ourselves the questions. A lot of the advisors, a lot of the gurus, a lot of the people who have been giving financial advice for years, the main thing they're saying is make sure that you cut expenses, making sure that you cut back on a lot of things, and be strategic with your savings in order to really be able to enjoy the surplus of income or multiple streams of income that you have coming in. So this is where things get very nerve wracking when you start to get into the details of it, because now you have that person who might be poor, impoverished, and it's been a magical dream for them. It's been a fantasy for them to wake up and be able to have $1 million in their possession, only to find out that if they were to receive it, by the time they decide, okay, I'm going to get a house, I'm going to get a car, I'm going to, get the base necessities, that $1 million has probably dropped down to 100,000. Plus, you have children, insurance, bills, traveling expenses if you want to travel, if you will. This is where it starts to diminish down to nothing. And so we have to figure out, how are we going to be effective with $1 million today? Most people would say, oh, I'm going to, probably take it, do some investing, get into some trading, create my pathway into real estate, which is, definitely good. Those are smart, smart ideas. Some people say, I'll put something into a high yielding savings account, get a great insurance policy because you can borrow against that. Those are all great ideas to do with $1 million. Some people, man, just looking for a roof over their head, and they just looking to be comfortable. I think one of the reasons why there's such a big clash over what is $1 million worth is it's the idea of what money is used for, and then it's the idea of how money makes people feel. I think that's the wrestling, um, like sideline fans screaming in the stands. Like those are the factors that are being shouted in this conversation. I follow lots of different people, that talk about financial literacy. I'm always looking at, YouTube videos of what people are, saying what's to come for the rest of 2024, 2025, even 2030. Just the other day, I was watching Fox News, and they have a segment where they were talking about financial literacy, and they had experts coming on talking about, the smartest way to go about buying a car, the smartest way to go about looking into an apartment or looking into a townhouse or looking into a house in 2024 of the different markets. Millennials are talking 24/7 on social media about what states they're moving to. I have so many friends, in the last 10 years, have probably moved twice, between the East Coast and the West Coast. Some people have moved to the Midwest simply because the main thing is housing, right? So when you look at $1 million, if we're talking cold hard cash in a bag, if we're talking wire transfer to your bank, whatever the case may be, 70%, especially Americans, are looking for housing. They're looking because here's the thing that a lot of people, also don't bring up is that the whole thing about money is that, I like to say there's 3 degrees of money, especially when I talk to young people or anybody comes to me for asking questions about money and financial literacy and things like that. I like to say there's like 3 degrees or like 3 realms of like money. So like obviously you have money in terms of the tangible item, right? Whatever tangible item is being exchanged, right, is being interpreted as an account for payment, right? So that can be the U.S. dollar, that can be gold, silver, whatever people are using, right, as a form of payment. Like that's money. That's what I would consider money. And then you have the second, I would say, realm to that, right, which is the currency, right? So I can say that. So it would be the currency. Okay. So yeah, you have, like I say, you have the dollar, you have gold, right? So the currency would be the flow of that particular item that you chose in order to make payment, right? So it would be the flow of U.S. dollars or the flow of, Singapore dollars, Chinese yen, right? Gold, silver, like the flow of those, like, and where they're moving to, and how much they're worth, how much buying power does it hold, right? That would be the currency. And then the last realm would be the value, right? Because only human beings can put value on money. I have yet to hear any story of an alien, getting involved with our money, our currency. I haven't heard it, so I'll be shocked to find it. So only humans can add value to, what we do with money, what we do with currency. So I think what a lot of people find themselves clashing in these conversations is, I think all humans can agree that as long as we have a form of payment available at our disposal, right, we are going to feel comfortable about where we are. And then knowing that there is more access to that, right, we can track it. We know how to get to it. We know which one is the most valuable, right? That's the currency, right? Then we start to feel even more comfortable because we say, okay, if I got some of it now, I can get some more later. or if I can create something that gives me, money now, then I can create something in the long run to always have money. And then lastly is the value. I like to say the value is well, each realm, when you talk about money, currency, value, each realm has a spiritual standpoint and a spiritual position and a spiritual function and role. I like to say value is probably the most dear to everyone, and that's why you can have 100,000 people who are living below middle class. They would go crazy. They would probably faint and pass right out in the street if somebody gave them a bag with $1 million in it. Not because they're dumb, stupid, they don't know, they don't know economics, and they don't know that it's a quote unquote not a lot of money, but simply what has happened is the access that they were looking for, the way out that they were looking for, so that the ideas, the plans that they've had hidden under their mattresses or written in their notebooks, the door has now opened for those things to take place. So it's not, social media, Hollywood, all that stuff, TV. We always slapstick, what happens when you give broke people or financially irresponsible or poor people money. We always know what that looks like. So a person who's, been rolling in the dough, a person that's been a millionaire, 5, 10, 15, 2, 3 decades in, obviously $1 million is nothing to them, because they have created a functionality within their wealth that certain things just can't move in their circle with $1 million. And that's okay. That's fine. But to tell people and to send this message that, if you don't have more than $1 million, you're in total doom, is nonsense. It is nonsense. In 2014, it was said that people making more than $70,000 a year are pretty much able to live very comfortable. And if it's a household of more than one person making that enough, you're living more than comfortable. If a single person is making $100,000 a year, you're sitting good. How much more if you and your partner, or you and your spouse, or if you have, multiple family members that's making that amount? You guys are sitting more than comfortable, especially if you guys are used to putting your money together to do with whatever it is you guys want to do. So I just think that, yes, we should be aware of the buying power of our money today. We should be aware of what privileges and access we still have, while the US dollar is still somewhat powerful and still holds some type of weight amongst different countries and international trade and all those different things. We should. But I think that especially those like the financial gurus and all those people that are on social media, on the news, trying to help the little guy stay afloat, I think that we should be strategic in how we get people excited to want to take something and grow it, want to take something and build, want to take something and invest. How many times do we hear stories about people who, it's almost like it fell from the sky. They took $5, their last $5, their last $1,000, their last $200, and they went, by faith, and it wasn't easy, it wasn't overnight, it wasn't instant, but they built a company, they built something that now takes care of their family and they can live comfortable. The question now becomes, does everybody need $1 million? The question now becomes, is $1 million enough to sustain a lifetime, right? What is your definition of a great life? What is Some people, here's the thing, you have some people that are so driven that obviously they just can't have someone in their visors or somebody adjacent to them that is not moving at the same rate as them. They feel like they'll be slowed down. And that's perfectly okay. I think that's what we're starting to see when you listen to people on podcasts, when the radio and news, and people are talking about money. I just think that it's almost like going back to middle school and high school. You have that high achiever, who's super driven, answering the questions, asking for more homework, and things like that. And then what happens? Well, actually, if you using that example, it's funny because in middle school and high school, that person that's super driven, that's the person that gets beat up in the hallway, right? But when that person is now the millionaire billionaire, now they get to beat up on the little guy and tell them, you need to work hard. It's funny how we find these paradigms, and we find the tables turning, in many different ways and from many different angles when the conversation of money is brought up. It is amazing that you will see somebody's strengths and weaknesses be more respected in certain circles more than others when money is involved. If you meet a person who is a blue collar worker, right, and they build something where they don't have, if you liquidate all their assets, they may not have a million in cash, but their business and their dealings and their investments, they're operating or they're generating an income that's worth $1 million, right? Like, it takes a lot of great skill sets, a lot of management, a lot of discipline in order to do that, right? But the person who just has $1 million lump sum, it's like, what about that is remarkable? You get what I'm saying? And this is, like I say, ties back into the person who has money, and will look at the person who doesn't. They'll start to say, well, okay, you got $1 million. Do you know what to do with that? Oh, you don't know what to do with that? Okay, you're just as broke. And I understand that. There are some people out there who teach and preach like that. They're like, okay, it's like you're in a war and you have the best weapon. If you're not trained, if you don't have the strength to lift that weapon, you don't have the ability to handle the recoil. You don't have the ability to move at the speed that is needed to take out the amount of soldiers in order to win the battle with that weapon. Then it's like you're just as in a bad place as if you didn't have the weapon. So I understand it completely. We can spin it 1,000 times over, but it boils down to in today's society, in 2024, we're halfway through the year. We're in July now. In 2024, it's come down to the fact that financial literacy is the way to go. I tell people all the time the three F's, and I've said it on my Instagram. I made a in-person video back in 2023 about it. I call it the three F's. I call financial literacy, then it's financially able, then it's financially stable. I personally believe a lot of people get it wrong. Because it's familiarity. It's you're in certain circles, you hear it, next thing you know it becomes a part of your lingo, and then you don't even know why you're saying it, or you don't even know the full definition behind what you're saying. A lot of people go around talking about, I want to be financially stable. I want to be financially stable. And listen, I've been broke most of my life. So for me, when I used to hear that, I heard it from all broke people who work in two, three jobs, married, kids. The wife or the husband got a high paying job. The other one got an average job, and they're just getting by, and they're trying to do right by their family, their kids. You always hear that. I'm trying to be financially stable. But I took the time to read. I took the time to listen to different people who are pioneering and helping a lot of families and couples build financial wealth and build their financial freedom, and I've done my own meditating, and I realized that in order for you to navigate any place that you walk into, right? You have to know what everything is and what everything means. It's like it's like when a child is old enough to comprehend everything that is around him. What do? You say, "Hey, this is a door. This is what a door does." Then you teach your kid how to spell the word door. And then you have them do everything in the house until by the time, they're a toddler, they know everything in the house. They know how to use it. They know how to handle it. And then now you can hold them responsible to maintain it and take care of it. Right? So it's the same thing with financial literacy. And I've said this before in my previous episodes talking about entrepreneurship and financial literacy, that it is very important that people know the difference between advice that they're getting from somebody who is, teaching or talking to them, and then, breakthroughs. You get what I'm sharing? Or specific, like, knowledge for the moment. We have to know the difference between the two, and I'll briefly touch on that. What do I mean? I've seen a lot of people who talk about financial literacy now on podcasts, YouTube, and things like that. They're sharing with people a particular situation where they got insight uh, for a particular matter. They took that insight and used it, and it gave them the breakthrough, the open door they were looking for, right? I see a lot of people sometimes teach from that angle, but you have to be careful because what may happen for me in Florida, if I try it in California, it won't work. The laws are different, the banks are different, the business dealings is different, the ethics is different, right? So I always tell people, be careful that somebody's not sitting here telling you insight that worked for their particular situation. But if you were to try it, you might get the police called on you, right? So the best thing to do is at least be familiar with the basics and the terminology, right? Be familiar with the paperwork. You can go on Google. Google will have a boatload of, contract templates, or just free information and PDFs to download. What does policy for this look like? What does this contract look like? What does this term sheet look like? What does, what's the process of undergoing X, Y, and Z type of deals, and yada, 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 right? If we get ourselves familiar, then what will happen is when somebody's actually giving us base knowledge or common knowledge within a financial sector, if it's real estate, whatever the case may be, then we can say, okay, I confirm that, I know that, I know that, I know that. That way you know the difference between somebody telling you, hey man, listen, you do X, Y, and Z, you fill out the paper like this, you do da 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 da, you do this, you do that, you call this person, you ask for this number, and you good, you in. Like I say, my grandma used to say this all the time. She was like, "What a dog gets away with, a cat doesn't get away with." So we just have to be careful out there when we're doing those things. But in closing, financially stay. I mean, financial literacy. That's number one. You know, take a class, read, YouTube, the free YouTube courses. There are virtual seminars. That's big right now. A lot of people do virtual seminars, in person, whatever. Right? Get the literacy down. The second thing is allow it to make you financially able. Right? If you come into $5,000, $10,000, what can that do for you based on the situation that you are in and where you want to be? How can you take what you know and create a pathway into a better situation? And then last thing is be financially stable. So what's the difference between financially able and financially stable? It's very simple. Financially able, like I say, understanding your buying power, understanding what you can do, right? And then executing it in steps or in a pace that is good for you. And then what happens is once you've executed and it's giving you the result you're looking for, is to stabilize it, right? I always tell people this: you never hear the word stable unless injury takes place. In my 33 years living on planet Earth, I've never heard anybody use the word stable for anything other than when talking about injury. Something has to happen to you. You have to have something happen to you. You have to be hit with opposition, resistance, pain. Uh, um, you know, uh, you have adversity. Something has to hit your life or hit you in order for you to what? Experience being stable, right? Because when you take a hit, the healing process or the revitalization process that takes place for you to keep going, right? That is represented in the stability of what? The strength and structure of your body, of your bones, of your health, and all those things. So I think that people need to understand when it comes to financial stability is that you got to go through a period of, some adversity. You have to go through wins and losses. I think whenever, um, you know, poor or broke people are talking about being financially stable, they're not really thinking on that wavelength of, like I want to be able to, when a tough time come, I knock it out the park. They're more so talking about, having enough and always having enough. So we need to get people to understand that when it comes to money, you have to be more aggressive and you have to be more on offense than on defense, which is why a lot of the rich and wealthy, and almost enjoy it. It's almost sport to them at one point because it's only so much that you can buy. There's only so much that you can, accumulate that will make make it worthwhile for you. It's just it becomes sport to them to just see, what's another deal I can do, or what's another big business venture that I can create, that I can add under my title of great accomplishments. This is what the rich are thinking. They want that test. It's not even about the money for them. They just want to be able to know that they had no hindrances, that they any challenge that, came up or rose up against them, that they were able to take it down. Money at that point for a person that's, rich and wealthy, money is a tool, you know, it's one of the steps in the process. For us, who are like at the lower level, it's an end all be all. We're at that all or nothing stage, but they've passed that all or nothing stage, like 5, 10, 15, maybe 100 times over. And I don't wanna get so far onto talking about what it's like for rich and wealthy people, because, I myself am not rich and wealthy yet. But this is something that, if we were to, just take a quick glance at all the people who are rich and wealthy, it's a pretty common denominator amongst them all. So, to conclude for now, on this, because there's so much, we can go into this so much. $1 million, I believe, is $1 million. Everybody is entitled to their own perspective, to each his own. How you see it will determine, how it will, last, how it would do your life good or how it would do your life harm. If you are a person that, $1 million is going to give you that idea or that feeling of rest, then that's what it's going to do. And you would only be deceiving yourself if you thought that, spending, and going out and, just buying X, Y, and Z and traveling without, doing some, planning and budgeting with that $1 million, that if one day you wake up and it's no longer there, that, like somehow you are missing something. Obviously you would have to take full responsibility that, it is what it is. You just wasted $1 million. But if you are that person that, you really have a plan and you really have a way that you want your life to be with that $1 million, then it will be so. For that person, like I say, who's rich, who's wealthy, who their operation, their yearly operation of their finances generates, well over $1 million, or, maybe they have $1 million in cash, or in assets. Their perspective is totally different. And their perspective, like I say, it's a tool. It's one of the steps in the process of what it is that they want to accomplish, or what it is that they want to do. You know, then that's just that. But in today's world, like I said, with every nation shifting economically, financially, socially, everybody's shifting, and there's some big plays that are going to be made by the end of 2024 going into 2025. Anybody who has $1 million in their possession, the next 18 months is going to become very crucial for you. How many purchases do you make? How many investments do you make? If there are children involved, are you going to go into a mode of saving? Are you going to go into a mode of, investing to secure more for your family? Or are you just going to say, you know what? Let's have a little fun before times get tough, so we can have, extravagant memories, and then we'll figure it out from there. It's to each his own. It really is. And I definitely want to be able to chime in on this more. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts and perspective, especially if you're tuning in from around the world. Shout out to Belgium. Shout out to South Asia, Canada. Special shout out to the Philippines. Shout out to all these different places that have downloaded episodes from my podcast. West Coast, people from California, Rhode Island, in the States. Special shout out to you guys, California, Massachusetts. Thank you guys for downloading. I want to be able, you guys, talk to your friends about it, and I want to be able to be a part of the conversation. I love to be a part of great conversations. That's why I'm trying to build this Discord community, so I can hear from people and what they have to think on different subject matter I'm talking about. But we're definitely going to wrap this one up for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Honor Kings and Sons TV podcast. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms. Just type in @Honor Kings and Sons, and you will see me pop up on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Definitely I want you guys to join my Discord so we could talk about these conversations. I want to be able to come out to your city, your country, fellowship with you, and see how we can definitely do great things for each other's community, and make sure that people's lives are being enhanced and advanced. So until next time, this is Darian Jones on the Kings and Sons TV podcast. Thank you guys so much. Until next time, be easy.